All right, joining us now with more is Israeli Special Ops veteran Aaron Cohen is with us. Aaron, we have gamed this out now since the start of this conflict. We knew probably after October 7th that big things in the region were likely to happen down the road. The Iranians were given every opportunity to stop fomenting terror. They're the #1 state sponsor of terror. And I want to lead into my question by reminding people I've been to Israel many times. And I've been in those underground terror tunnels, and I've been to the border towns like Sderot. By the time I had been there, it was a town that had been hit with 10,000 rockets in the 10 previous years. It was a town with the naked eye, you could see Gaza, and children had to play in underground bunker playgrounds because it only took 12, 13 seconds for a rocket to be fired and land in that town. I saw the progression of the rockets that were being fired into Israel, how much more lethal they were on year 10 than year 1 to inflict maximum harm and carnage and damage to human life. So, you know, I ask Americans tonight, maybe there are a couple that are skeptical, although the Insider Advantage Trafalgar poll said that the president, by any means necessary, should take out these nuclear sites. But anybody that might have doubt, how many rockets would need to be fired into an American town or city before Americans would demand that their government respond? If you add up all the rockets over all the decades that have been fired into Israel, how many hundreds of thousands have been fired? If you talk about Lebanon, if you talk about Gaza, now the Houthi rebels, the Iranians directly, how many more missiles will Israel be able to withstand? At this point, it seems like a line has to be drawn in the sand. If you fire a missile at Israel, it is over. You will be obliterated again. And once that message goes out, probably it stops. That's my hope.
Sean, you nailed it. Tonight's strike, look, not only historic, as you said, but this was an intelligence-driven decapitation of the #1 state sponsor of terror and Iran's nuclear program. And you can't have the #1 state sponsor of terror have nuclear capability, period. So Fordow, Natanz, Esfahan, all critical to weaponizing uranium, hit in one coordinated operation. And it worked because the United States and Israel, who I believe have been planning this for quite some time, knew exactly when to strike. Months of joint U.S. and Israeli intelligence, cyber, deep and dangerous human intelligence, Sean. That's the Israeli intel organization Mossad and Unit 8200, deep inside of Iran, satellite, tons of signal intercepts, all converging to map every inch of these facilities, according to my friends who are now running the show in Israel from back in my day. So the 2-week delay that Brett mentioned, and the operational silence here, deception, beautifully played, gave Iran just enough confidence to relax. And then they got hit. So Sean, Fordow, in my opinion, was their insurance policy, the IRGC's insurance policy, and now it's rubble. And without a nuclear deterrent, the regime's soft white underbelly is exposed. Then if they retaliate, which I agree with Brett, they will. But if they retaliate recklessly, missiles at U.S. targets, proxies, cyber, they're not just risking escalation. It's an important point that Brett mentioned. They're risking regime total collapse. But Trump didn't wait. He understood the threat. He took the shot. It wasn't impulsive. It was preemptive. And he waited the last possible moment. And I believe that strike, Sean, has shattered the myth of that regime invincibility. These guys like to beat their chest. But the Iranian people saw it. The Americans saw it. Europe just saw it. The entire world just saw it. And now it's time for the regime to come to the table or risk losing complete regime change from within. Because, Sean, if Fordow can fall, I promise you so can the entire Islamic Republic.
Well, I think that's very powerful. You know, both the president and Prime Minister Netanyahu both congratulated each other and both recognized how they worked together to accomplish what is historic. taking out these facilities. It has been discussed. This has been the #1 state sponsor of terror. It has gone on for decades. The President Trump saying, thanking, congratulating the Prime Minister. We can go over all of their military successes, taking out all of the top leadership of Hamas, taking out Nasrallah, who'd been a leader for 32 years, taking out other taking out the scientists, the nuclear scientists in Iran, taking out their top generals in Iran, even yesterday. I mean, it is the pager incident, and I can go on and on, what they've been able to do to knock out, for example, no easy task, but just to knock out their ability or gaining the ability to control the airways by knocking out their air defense system. Not a simple thing to do. Knocking out their missile defense systems, knocking out their batteries, knocking out their military sites, pounding their nuclear sites to prepare for this final attack by the U.S. tonight.
Sean, 100%. This was an intelligence-driven masterpiece. I don't know how else to explain it. And what the world saw tonight with these strikes on Fordow and Natanz and Isfahan, I believe was the final move, as I said before, in months long. I mean, this is chess played by America, by Trump, and Israel's top intelligence people. So I think the key here with this one, I agree with everything you just said. This goes back quite some time here, but I think the key for this one was knowing exactly when to hit, where to hit, and how to ensure that everything inside was still there when they hit. Remember, that pause may have created some motion within the IRGC to try and start moving things. So a lot of very coordinated, intelligence-driven operations. But, this time, unlike Iraq, and I'm thinking of Reagan in my head, Iran's nuclear facility was the crown jewel of Iran's strength, and that's the importing of their terrorism brands. And so taking out the operational engines of that nuclear bomb has rung out to the entire world. It's going to create a paradigm shift here. And we know how deep Fordow was buried underneath. You had the Natanz, which ran the centrifuge cascades is what they're called. Isfahan is where that uranium was getting converted to that warhead grade material, and all of them now are smashed. So the tactical execution was not only flawless, but the ability to keep the signal completely silent to the media, to everybody, was a masterclass in intelligence. And not a single U.S. aircraft was lost. That message is, we can reach you anywhere. You're never going to see it coming. Don't mess with the United States. And Fordow wasn't just a facility, Sean. It was a symbol. And now it's gone. And I salute the president. I salute Israel. Nobody does this better. When you put the Americans and the Israelis together, Sean, you've got a very lethal playground with some incredible signaling into what Brett said. That's what the world needs to see. The Iranians may come back and try and sting a little bit, but my warning to them is be careful. Flex your little bicep, but remember, you can be taken down as a regime, and there's very good people and people outside of Iran ready to come back to Iran and rebuild that country, and they'll do it in a heartbeat, so be warned.
Fordow, gone. Natanz, gone. Isfahan, gone. Unbelievable. What an amazing military feat by the U.S. military tonight, and great work preparing the way by the Israeli military. And as the president said, they work together as a team like no other team has ever worked before. And they worked in a long way to erase the horrible threat to Israel. I do believe, and I'll end on this, Aaron, is that I talk a lot about the Trump doctrine. I think there needs to be a new Israel doctrine, and that is, you fire one rocket into Israel, you will be obliterated. It has to happen. People cannot live this way, for decades and decades. At that point, I'd like to see the Abraham Accords, maybe as a consequence of tonight. Maybe something good that will come out of tonight will be that countries in the region will recognize Israel and their right to exist and create partnerships and business arrangements and a coalition of peace. and to eliminate extremism in the entire region. Aaron Cohen, thank you, sir.
Let me take a minute and tell you guys about something incredible that I'm building and why I need your help. It's called Gideon. It's the first real-time AI-powered threat detection system for law enforcement and schools. It scans the open web, social media, Discord, Reddit, gaming chats, and flags violent signals before they explode. We're talking about radicalization, grievance buildup, martyrdom language, the exact warning signs we've seen before Uvalde, Buffalo, and the D.C. embassy murders. And right now, there's no system catching it. So I'm building it. And I'm asking you, my audience, the people who care, to help me fund it. Every dollar goes directly to engineering, law enforcement deployment, and getting this into schools and across law enforcement agencies across the country. And so if you've ever asked, why didn't they stop this? Or how come they didn't stop this? This is the answer. And if you're one of those serious guys out there watching this and you're a fan of the show, the ones with the capital, access, reach, the network, and you want to partner with me to seed this mission, I want to hear from you. Reach out to me. Click the link below and reach out directly if you're one of the big dogs. I'm building the system that stops the next attack before it starts, and it's called Gideon. Appreciate you guys.